Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of CVtv Workshops. My name is Carlos. I'm here with my co-host, David Dockin. How
Hey,
are you, Dave?
all right. How's it going today?
I'm doing well. How's everything going with you?
Man, we doing well. Hanging in there down.
That's good. That's good. Well, my usual question, how's the weather down there?
It's still warm, Carlos, but I think there's a front coming down, so we may have our first real taste of fall coming.
Yeah, I mean, we're in Chicago here, and it's already in the 60s,
Yeah.
and sometimes
Wow.
it's gotten back to the upper 50s overnight. So
Wow.
people are starting to wear sweaters or at least a little bit thicker shirts. It's about that time of the year.
Time, huh?
But I can tell you, this is the time of the year where sometimes the days are perfect. Like
Yeah.
70,
Mhm.
75. Sometimes you hit that time when it's like the weather's just
Yeah. Right.
not too hot for mosquitoes, not
Hmm.
humid, just a little bit of breeze. It's like a perfect day to sit outside with a beer and watch a
Yeah.
movie or something.
Wow. Yeah,
We
that's
get
nice.
those.
Yeah.
So I want to say hello to everybody. I think, I don't know about you, but it looks like Restream, the company that we use for streaming, changed the format, and now I can't see the chat anymore.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So I'm not sure what's going on here, but anyway, oh no, I get you. I just had to whiten my screen. So I want to say hello to Jeremy is here, Wendy is here, Danny Evers. Danny, I haven't seen him in a while, so it's always good to see Danny here. I have Rajindra from Trinidad and Tobago, producer Reef, Rad, John, and James Scott's here. Mike Neal is here. So I want to say hello to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's
Yeah.
it's so
Thank
good
you.
to see everybody. We have a great show today.
Yeah.
If you if this is your first time visiting us, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, hit that little thumbs up, and it'll notify you next time when you have a show. When we have a show. Also, if you're interested in finding out more about reefs and fish and products, even if you didn't buy them from Coral View, there's this great Facebook group that we have. It's Coral View Cares, and it's on Facebook, and it's Community Aquarius Research, Education, and Support. And you can ask any questions there. I mean, the people there, I can tell you, Dave, right? They
Yeah.
are very nice. Nobody's bullying anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's very respectful, and trust me, we try to keep it that way. The moderators in there, if you if you're one of those people that likes to scream at somebody else to get your point across, they'll kick you right out. Okay, so no, they're very nice. Also, if you're interested on the hydros and you have questions, you're visiting us because you want to learn more about the hydros. We also have this other resource, which is forum.coralviewhydros.com. And that's a group of people that have been using the hydros for a while, from complete newbies, beginners, to advanced people. And the DIY section is really cool. And if that doesn't work for you because you're not a Facebook person, you are not a YouTuber, and you definitely don't want to do social media or forums, then you can always just visit us at support.coralview.com, and you'll get one-on-one support
Yeah.
for those questions. All right. So, Dave, tell me, what are we talking about today? What is our subject for this workshop?
Now we're talking about dosing and dosing pumps, and some people may have noticed we pushed a new app a week or two ago now, and on there you'll see our dosing software. But we're talking about dosing pumps. We're talking about different dosing pumps in particular that we can use with this software that we've added, and also talking about one little dosing pump that we're releasing here in the next week or so that can be
Okay.
used with this. But
All right.
yeah,
For those big for so let's kind of jump right in for the beginners. What is a dosing pump? I
yeah.
mean, what's the most common place where people see dosing pumps that is not in the hobby? I mean, what is a dosing pump?
Dosing pump is something that you're going to dose into your aquarium, a liquid dose, be
Hmm.
it trace elements, could be even foods, calc
Hmm.
water, any liquid that you want to put on a time and have dosed periodically as you have it set into your aquarium. So
So you're
that's
telling me So you're telling me that I don't have to every day wake
Yeah,
up in the morning and measure and then pour it in the
exactly.
tank anymore like I used to do before?
Exactly. Yeah. We want to make it easier, and that's what these little dosing pumps can do.
So they take liquid from a container, being
Yep.
whatever it is, food, trace elements, and then they grab it and then pour it into your tank at a predetermined measure, volume. And this is all based on the volume of your tank. So if you have obviously, if you have a 50-gallon tank, it's going to dose something X. But if you have a 300-gallon tank, then you're going to need Y of of that particular liquid. You know, the amount changes based on the volume of your tank, but the concept is still the same,
Right.
correct?
Correct. And,
That's
when we're talking about dosing, I think the main thing we're talking about is probably the balling method. And,
mm.
and what is that? We're talking calcium, alkalinity, magnesium.
So
And
let's start with that. What is the balling method? What does it do?
yeah, balling method is basically it's what your corals need in order to grow and to thrive in our aquariums. We need to maintain these parameters, calcium, magnesium, alkalinity. So the balling method is the liquid dosing of these elements.
Okay, so you grab this different bottles from different manufacturers, and there it is. You know,
Yeah.
component 1, 2, 3 from Forest, and
Yep.
it has and then you dose them in equal parts, based
Correct.
again on the demands of your tank. So depending on how much alkalinity your tank consumes in a day, or how much calcium, how much magnesium, then you add the same amount of all three equal parts
Yep.
automatically. Now it would be a pain in the but for a lack of a better term, to actually have to do 50 milliliters every time and
Yeah.
dose it, which I remember doing that. You remember that doing
Oh
that back
yeah.
in the day?
Yep.
Exactly. But nowadays, you can just buy these little dosing machines, hook them up, and then tell the controller, okay, I need you to do 50 milliliters of X, Y, and Z at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock, whenever you want it to. And we'll cover that, the different camps and when to add. Some people say add in the morning, some
Yep.
people say add in the evening. It really, I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so I mean, to me, it's worked in the evening and it's worked in the morning. I think it's just a matter of preferences.
Well, I think it gets into also the consumption rate lowers
Yes.
at night. So maybe you have a higher settings of dosage during the daytime light hours
Mhm.
than you do at night. That kind of gets into that whole, stability, thing that
Yes.
we try and set up with our tanks.
That there is that concept. At nighttime everything slows down. Even the fish wake up, but the consumption
Hmm.
steps down, and you can see this based on your alkalinity readings. I
Yep.
mean, the alkalinity demand tends to slow down in the middle of the night, and it
Hmm.
tends to go up in the middle of the day.
Yep.
So making the same assumption that corals consume alkalinity just the same way they consume other trace elements, then it's probably better to put the elements or add the elements in the morning just as soon as your lights turn on, so the calcium, the magnesium, the strontium, the manganese, the iron,
Yep.
everything is ready for them right when they need it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't have any scientific proof, but sometimes it's just common sense.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
can still we talk about how we can, with the alpatronic, how we can look
Hmm.
at what the demand
Exactly.
is during the daytime hours versus at night. So that's
Yes.
another good tool in how to set up your dosage.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Dave, and for our viewers, what you do for your balling method, how what you do, it's up to you. But
Yep.
what we're trying to tell you is that there are ways to automate that process. So it's just as easily I can set it up to do it at night, or I
Mm.
can tell the doser to do it in the morning, or what, we can tell the doser to split everything
Hourly.
during
Yeah.
the day,
Hmm.
or split everything at night, or
Yep.
you can tell the doser to run this many during the day and this at night. I mean, that's what the controller is. But again, the doser machine, the devices themselves give you that versatility.
Yep.
All right, so what else can you do with the dosing? We've covered trace elements, so elements micro and macro. What else can we do with the doser?
What about foods, liquid foods? A lot of
Yes,
liquid foods out now.
absolutely.
Phytoplankton. Uh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember the days when you had to make your own phytoplankton,
Hmm.
and you couldn't leave it outside for too long because then they would just do it.
Yep.
Or you had the phytoplankton paste that was
Hmm.
great, but you couldn't leave it without refrigeration, so
Yep.
you couldn't really use the doser. So, but now with this company from Spain, Easy
Yep.
Reefs,
Yeah,
they
it's a great
create
product.
yeah, they create this cryogenic, or I mean, I'm not sure if I'm using the right word, but it's like this paste that is actually it's in a vacuum sealed container, so it's not contaminated, and
Yep.
you can actually leave it at room temperature.
Yeah,
And
it's like a gel, they say, and
yes,
so you can leave it at room temperature, and they also offer an attachment for the dosing pump, so you can
it,
hook it right to the end of the cap there. You see on
you
this
know,
booster.
and I don't know. I mean, Dave, I know you're in a transitional period right now with your system. You're
Yep.
upgrading to a big system,
Hmm.
but myself, I use Easy Booster, and I think I use like 15 or 16 milliliters of Easy Booster a day, but I split them throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
But that's something that I constantly do, especially because I have a little Mandarin Dragonet here,
Hmm.
and they need those little pots.
Yeah.
Now, I give you a secret. I was very lucky. I ended up getting one of those. I picked up this little Mandarin Dragonet over at the local store here, Tank It Easy, and it eats prepared food.
Huh.
It eats mices, it eats rods, it eats everything. So this
That's
guy
pretty
is a little
good.
chubby in there. It's pretty good.
Wow.
I mean, I've never had a Mandarin goby that does that, but this one just goes crazy for the little shrimp mices and everything. So
Wow.
that's great. But I still do the dosing anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so we got trace elements, we have balling method, and then what else do we use dosers for?
What about Kalkwasser? You dosing calc.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's good. Kaltwasser to keep your calcium up, your
Hmm.
alkalinity up,
Yep.
and then also your pH up to some extent. I mean,
Hmm.
Kaltwasser is like it's like the perfect blend of food, or I mean, of calcium and alkalinity. It doses both of them at the
Exactly.
right levels. It just amazes me nature how it works.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you specifically, we look at the different dosing pumps out there. One in particular, the here we see the Camor FX STP, and
Right.
this is a pump that's designed for continuous running. So
Yes.
they're great with calcium reactors or even to drip at a slow rate your Kalkwasser.
Exactly. Exactly. And the thing about it is, I've been using that one because I use Scoutwater in my tank. I mean, I have a calcium reactor, but there's something, from an old reefer, from somebody who's been doing it for 20 plus years. There's something about corals and Kaltwasser.
Really?
There's something about coral and algae and Kaltwasser. Just they really like it. So even though my calcium reactor does most of the heavy lifting, the Kaltwasser is always there,
Is
dripping
that
in there.
something you use at night to help buffer the pH or no?
No, I use it the entire day.
Wow.
I just used it the entire day. I have the FXSTP set to 5 milliliters per hour.
Oh, so it's
No,
very
5 milliliters.
slow.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. No, 5 milliliters for 5 milliliters per minute. Sorry.
Okay.
So 5 milliliters per minute. But I came to that number because I know how much evap I have, how much evaporation I have.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that the amount of
That's
hot
tied in.
water that I'm putting in there does not exceed the amount of evaporation. But
So you
yeah,
use that like in combination as your ATO. You know your evaporation rate.
yeah, no, this is again, all this stuff, guys, that we're talking about here is all opinions and suggestions. This is the stuff that that Dave and I have worked on, but
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that is the right way or the wrong way of doing it. It's just a way of doing it. So what I do is my ATO is too unpredictable
Okay.
because the ATO runs depending on the time of day, depending on the weather, depending on the humidity factor, then my ATO pump might turn on for 10 seconds, or it might turn on for 15 seconds, or it might turn on for longer,
Right.
depending on the evaporation. So it's too much of a unknown. And I don't want to pour all that Kaltwasser at once. So what I do is my Kaltwasser is completely independent from my ATO. But because the Kaltwasser is constantly adding, that by definition means that the ATO does not run as much as it would if the Kaltwasser wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
so that's how I do it. I mean, you could put it on the ATO, and that's perfectly fine. When you get to larger systems, that it becomes it's not that it just doesn't work as well as a smaller system.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Opinion in there.
That's what we're here for. We share it.
Yeah, exactly. So Kaltwasser, yes, and you know what? You can do it also on a calcium reactor itself.
Okay.
But
you're effluent.
Yeah, the effluent, or you're pushing water into the calcium reactor. One of the biggest problems with the calcium reactor is that most people run the effluent, and by effluent we mean the amount of water coming out of the calcium reactor. They run it in a very slow drip because this effluent is really high in calcium and alkalinity. If you run it too much, then it's just going to spike your calcium. So people run it in a drip. The problem is that you have something that is very high on alkalinity and very high on calcium. That tends to build up and accumulate. And if you're running it in a drip very slow, that's kind of like a stalite, the underwater caves where the water keeps dripping, but it keeps forming because the calcium. That's technically what's happening. So you end up clogging up the output of the calcium reactor, and it keeps slowing down until eventually it just doesn't run. If you add a dosing pump, then the pressure doesn't allow that to clog up, and it'll continue to move.
So that you using the FXSTP pushing water through the reactor.
Yes, most people, but what we recommend, I use a different setup, and you know what? We'll talk about that on a different setup calcium reactor. You know what? We might do a workshop when we set up your calcium reactor, because that's what we're going to do. But I do a little bit of setup, but one of the most common setups is to put the FXSTP on the feed part of the calcium reactor. So you're pushing the FXSTP is taking water out of your sump and pushing it into the reactor. That's the way to do it. Okay, so but that's pretty much it. So that's what dosing pumps do. I mean, they're here to it's a convenience to us, I think. Makes it easier for us. All right, so we are talking about dosing pumps today in CVtv workshops. My name is Carlos, and my co-host David Dakin. I want to say hello to a few people that have come over and actually join us. Mauro Gonzalez is here. I know we have people from Mexico too, which is kind of cool. Antonio Luna from Mexico City. We have Paul Williams from UK, and we have let's just say this: the Hydros controller is fully compatible with 220. It's the Wi-Fi strips that are not. The Wi-Fi strips only work on 110. So, but we'll have something for you guys, please.
That's coming. Don't worry.
And I know we've been saying this so many times, but please understand, with the shortage of electronics, if it wasn't for COVID and the shortage of electronics, it would have been out already. But the fact that we can't find enough parts to make it in a big enough quantity, that would be bad. Because the last thing we want to do is to offer this in the US and then not have enough parts to do the UK or any other place, and then you guys get mad at us. So we're trying to make it so that we do this. Okay, we do this in a correct way. All right. So let's talk about what else we're going to be doing. We're trying to talk about, I want to make sure that if you like the show, and there's my wife there, getting back home, that's the thing about, doing it at the office, at the home office. Okay. So if you like the show, if you like to see those, people just walking behind me and doing things, please just hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the thumb, hit the thumbnail, the bell and the thumbs up. And you'll be notified right away when the show starts.
Yep.
As always, if you like what you're hearing and you want to know more about the Coral View Hydros, please head on over to forum.coralviewhydros.com. And there's a group of people there that have been using the hydros, and they'll help you out. And if that doesn't work for you, or maybe just don't get the answer that you want, or you want more detail, then just head it over to support.coralview.com, and then you'll get one-on-one help. All right. So let's continue talking about this. So
Yeah, I wanted to mention, so, we're talking about with hydros and dosing pumps, and it's always been my goal. We want to be inclusive with other manufacturers, pumps and lights, and whatever we can do.
Exactly.
I always say it's foolish for me to think that whatever Coral View sells, that's all anybody's ever gonna want. It's just never gonna be that way. So
David, bring down that wall.
Yeah, bring down the walled garden.
Yeah.
And let's look at what else is out there. And there's other pumps out there that we know people already own, and maybe they want to use it with hydros. So that's what we're like to mention here. And that's a bit about it.
That's right, Dave. I mean, it's like, let's just be honest. I mean, it's like you and I have been in the hobby for many years, and there's a garage with a plethora of equipment that I want to use, but sometimes cannot use because it's not compatible. And that's because, other controller companies, they don't want you to use their stuff. They only want you to use the stuff. Or you know what? They say, oh, yes, you can use that, but all the nice features that are available when you use their product are not available when you use somebody else's product.
Right.
Which is kind of, I think it's not, honestly, it's a software thing, people. It's not a hardware thing. It's a software thing. They're choosing not to let you use the software for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave did not believe in that. They believed that we should be able to open it. So myself, I have several of the bulk resupply 1.1 milliliter pumps out there. And I have some of the 50 milliliter pumps out there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're not going to put pictures because of copyright. We don't want to get in there. But everybody, you know what? Go online and do a search, and you can do it. You'll do a search, and it's fine. But we have those. And Dave says, why can't we use those devices with the hydros? Right, Dave?
Why not? I mean, people have made an investment into these products, and they work. They've been selling them a long time. So why not give them the ability to use it with a controller instead of just putting it on a wall timer or however you have to use it now?
Exactly. So now let's delve into that a little bit more, because there's what we divide into two types of controllers. Two types of dosers. There's the smart doser.
Yep.
And then there is the simple, or as we sometimes call it, the dumb doser, because it doesn't know what to do. The dumb doser, the simple doser, is the one that I plug it into power and it starts running. It doesn't change the speed. It just has one speed. And if I unplug it from power, it stops, which is the bulk resupply pump. And they made it that way. So you can put on a timer and base, and you know that if it's 1.1 milliliters, if you wanted those 10 milliliters, then you put it at just a little bit under 10 seconds.
Yeah.
10 minutes. So it's like 9 minutes and 50 seconds, something like that. Anyway, but why can't you make it so the controller does that for you? Keeps track of the type of pump, keeps track of the rate, and then automatically does the math for you.
Yeah.
So if I had balling method where I have to use 50 milliliters of 2 bottles, but I have only one BRS pump, which is 1.1, and I have another pump from another company that is 50 milliliters a minute. So then I would have to set the timer for 50 minutes on one and set the timer for 1 minute on the other one, and then I have to repeat that process. Now with the hydros, you tell it, okay, this pump is 50 milliliters a minute. This pump is 1 milliliter a minute. So what is the hydros going to do? at 12 o'clock, whenever you want, it'll start 50 milliliters. So it'll start running one pump for 50 minutes, and the other pump will only run it for 1 minute automatically and then stop.
Yep.
So you can actually add multiple pumps with different speeds to the same schedule and do that. And yes, everybody, you can do it with the other controller. But unless you're an advanced programmer with a degree in computer science, and 20 years of experience working for Oracle, kidding, it just takes a while to program something like that. Okay, and we make it very easy.
Yeah.
So, so what other companies? Bulk Resupply makes that, right?
Yeah.
Camor makes a couple of really simple pumps that are, we call them the simple dumb pumps. And again, we don't mean dumb pump as a stupid. It's a term that we use when it doesn't have a brain.
Yeah, without a brain. Yeah.
Without a brain. Yeah, it's just a way to call it a dumb pump. Yes, exactly. The X1 Pro, there you go. Actually, that's the X1 Pro is Bluetooth, so that one has its own app. But the FX SDP definitely you can use for that.
Yep. So that FX SDP, you will just set the speed. It's just a speed control. That's a continuous run.
Exactly. Which is great. I mean, that's what you want. At the end of the day, it's just a simple thing. And then the hydros will turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
But that will allow you to do two-part, allow you to do food, allow you to do Kaltwasser and calcium and everything else. You're just trying to make it as simple as possible. Yeah. The Ecotech, what are the Ecotech called? The dosing pumps?
The Versa.
Versa, yes. So the Versa the Versa actually is a smart pump with the ability to turn it into a dumb pump, and I think they call it the manual mode. So on your Versa, if you turn it into a manual mode Versa, then what happens is as soon as you plug it in, it runs at whatever speed you set it to run all the time. And then if you turn it off, then it stops. And that's technically what you need. You need a pump that can do that.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. So on the next segment, we're going to talk about pretty much how to add these pumps to the controller, So we are watching CoralView Hydro's workshop here, and we're talking about dosing. So we're going to take a few seconds and watch another Academy Award winning commercial from our producer April here. So we'll see you on the other side.
All right.
April has a flair for the dramatic. That music, every song, every music she's got is like, this dramatic thing. It's awesome. I love him. So welcome back. My name is Carlos with my co-host David Dockin here, and we are watching CoralView Workshops, and we're talking about dosing pumps today. Yep. So if you like the show, if you like what you've seen so far, the first half of the show, please just hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, and bell. And you know what? Speaking of that, a big shout out to Greg Carroll, who's not here telling you to press that subscribe button, but he's flying. He's on his way from California to Chicago for Reeferpalooza. So we remember you, Greg. Anyway, also, if you have any questions on anything, fish, corals, tanks, anything you want, just head on over to Facebook group Cares, Coral View Cares. Committee acquires research, education, and support. It's a group of people that we're just there to share. I mean, we spend so much time in social media, and social media has become such a sometimes bad influence. Let's use this
Yeah,
incredible resource for something good,
right.
and for sharing information, for helping each other out, which is something that we really, 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 really need nowadays. If you are a Hydros fan or a Hydros beginner, or if you're thinking about buying a Hydros and you have more questions or to see how things work, head on over to forum.coralviewhydros.com. There's an extensive group, there's a large group of people there that have been using the Hydros for a while, including advanced people, and the DIY section is really cool. There's some really cool stuff in there. And then if you are a Hydros user, have a question, and don't want to post it on Facebook, don't want to go to the forum, you want one-on-one, just head on over to support.coralview.com and we'll be able to help you. And depending on the problem, we might have to schedule a call you, and remote into your controller. We can do this. So, all we ask is reach out to us before you go on social media. Reach out to us. Give us a chance to fix the problem.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking. That's it. I'm not going to say anymore. All right. So, Dave, now on the emails that April sent out, she said about an announcement going on. What do we have?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, so we're talking about the different type of dosing pumps out there, and how these ones that we want to integrate with hydros work. That kind of just, for lack of a better word, just a dumb pump or doser. But we came up with one of our own here for hydros, and basically this little pump right here, and it's on your screen. It will run directly from a drive port on your hydros controller.
Yes.
So it's an inexpensive dosing pump, and it connects directly to your drive port, which then makes it into a smart pump.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Do we have a average output? Is 43 milliliters a minute. There you go. I was looking for that stuff, and the accuracy is plus or minus 2%. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Now, Dave, do we have pricing on that or not yet?
Yeah, they're going to be $59.99. So it's not a bad price point, to get into a doser.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. Especially when you have smart doser using the Hydros app, which most of us, or most of you here watchers, have already gotten accustomed to. So it should be, it's kind of like you don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to learn somebody else's programming way of doing things. So that's great. So that is. And when will the little doser be available?
I think we'll have them out here in the next week. So they're very close.
That's pretty nice. That's very nice. And you know what? It's the warranty. It comes with the warranty. You're not buying it from Amazon where you only get 90 days warranty. I think it's going to be 1 year warranty, Dave. Or
1 year on it. Yep.
1 year warranty on it. That does not include the replacement of the tubing and everything. Those are typical wear and tear.
Yeah.
Yes, think of it as a car warranty, dealer warranty does not include the tires, because the tires are typical wear and tear. So that's.
So it's no secret, Carlos. We working with Comor on this little doser, but it's basically just configured that it will plug directly into a Hydros drive port, and we take control of it from that point.
And let's talk about that, Dave, because let's be honest. Hydros is not a dosing company.
Right.
We didn't get in the business of creating dosers. We don't have. We don't want to take the resources out of Hydros to put into a dosing pump. We don't have to create the molds. Yeah. We don't know the intricacies of creating a dosing pump. there's no point in us creating a dosing pump um, uh, from the ground up. And if we do, we would have to charge you over $100 for it.
Yep.
So, our motto is, work smart, not harder,
Yep.
which means that we have all these connections with companies that we distribute from. And the Camor is a company that makes dosing pumps for a living. They know how to do this right. And they're able to give hydros access to uh, very well priced items that the hobbies can do. Yes, you can go and buy a two head dosing pump for like $300 out there, but do you want to spend $300 for two dosers, or do you want to spend $50 for a doser and have this makes the same better smarts?
Yep.
That's it.
Well, Camor is, many people may not know, but they specialize in these dosing pumps, but their main business is in the medical industry.
Exactly.
That's who their primary folk. This is just a small division of the company.
So, I mean, yeah, medical here, aquarium hobby, tiny here, exactly. So
we want to utilize that, relationship with them and use their motors. And I don't think there's anything better that we could source or build ourselves. So why do it?
Yeah. Now, here's a question that people are asking, and I'm gonna, we usually like to do is answer questions right away, especially when a good question comes in. So, Jeff Benedict has a question: if you are using two parts and typically dose the same for calc and alkalinity for whatever two parts you have, X and Y, can you run two hydro dosers from one drive port? It's a little bit tricky because technically you can, but because they're dumb pumps, which means that as soon as they're powered up, they will run. That means that when one powers, the second one powers, and it runs at the same time. Now, the last thing you want to do is to add alkalinity and calcium at the same exact time. Usually, you tend to delay. You tend to stagger them. So you do one, wait a few seconds, and then do the other one, so they don't mix and precipitate.
The chemical contamination could
be chemical,
unless they were really spread apart.
Exactly. So unless they're spread apart, then you probably don't want to do that just for that reason. Okay? Because again, the pump is the hydros is not telling the pump brain to do it, because the pump has no brain. The hydros just powers the pump, and the pump, as soon as it receives power, it starts going. So FYI, that's what I said. So yes, you can do that, and you can do that when you have two chemicals that don't interfere with each other. But if you have chemicals that interfere with each other, then I would recommend running them on different drive ports so the hydros can turn them on at different times.
And I want to mention, Carlos, this is just our start in dose and pump realm. We have two other devices in the works.
Yes.
That's ground up built, by us here. But
yes.
They're also using Camor pumps, just a lead.
Yeah, exactly. But they're a little bit different.
Give you the more smart. We will look at then, different type of, continuous dosers and stepper motors that get into a little more intricate dosing settings.
Exactly. So to answer Jeff Benedict, you can, but depends on the setup. And it goes back to that. I hate answering a question with "it depends" because it depends. As one of the engineers told me also, which I know, is that you can only calibrate one pump. So you have to make sure that both pumps are the same volume, because it'll run them for the same amount. It'll run them for one single time. So, you want to make sure that they're both 50 or they're both 40, or that otherwise you're going to end up with uneven dosage. Okay. So if you have pumps that have different speeds, then you have to connect them differently so they could be powered at different times. And like I said before with the BRS, you don't have to have a hydros pump to be controlled, because the hydros can power up a drive port just as easily as it can power up a regular outlet.
Correct.
So, and we do not, and I repeat, we do not lock the software so that you get all the features when you're using the hydros pump,
Who
or you
would
get
do
no
something like that?
features when you're using, a regular outlet. We do not do that for you. We like to work. We're team players. There you
Yeah.
go. You know exactly. All right.
I also want to mention, Carlos, with this little doser we're releasing, if you don't have a drive port, we also will have the power supply that will have
Yes.
a NAT to this GX connector. So then you could plug it into your Wi-Fi power strip.
Yes.
And at that point, you can take the same control as you could from the drive port.
Exactly. And that's awesome. I mean, again, it's all about options. We're giving you options. I mean, whatever works for you, that's good, but we weren't giving you options. Okay, so let's do you want me to go ahead and program something in here real quick?
Show us the
All right,
software.
let's do this. Okay, so I'm gonna have April go ahead and switch us over to my little dandy hydros controller right here, Coral View. All right, and let's start with, again, this is you guys know this Coral View thing. This poor thing gets erased, erased, reset, and all the time. But so I have an empty controller here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add one of those controllers. So let's go ahead and add a hydros pump. So I'm going to go to, I'm in outputs. Here, go to outputs, add, hit the plus symbol, and I'm going to type hydros doser, right? Simple enough. Create. And then let's go ahead and find it as a simple doser right here. Boom. Look at that. So now the flow rate, output device, and the container. So flow rate, we said it was what? 43? 43, right?
Yeah.
So I could use this, a little tricky. Here's a little Easter egg for you guys. You could do this right here, which I can go to 43, but that seems a little bit hard. Or I can do this and I can here. Or you know what? I could just do this and type 43. And click anywhere, and it's done. So you got three ways. People that like the slider, they can do that. People that like the plus and minus, they can do this. Or people that just like to type in the button, just tap on that, type the number, and then get out, and you're set. That's it. Output device. You know what? I plugged this one to my drive port number 2. Okay. And then notify me when the reservoir level is below. I'm going to make it 0 for now. I don't have, let's just leave it at that. But I can make the reservoir, when the reservoir, depending on the reservoir, if my reservoir is less than 1 liter, then, or 0.1 liters, then go ahead and send me a notification. All right. Now, there is no sensor in here. It just keeps, but the hydros is really good at keeping track on what you're dosing automatically and manually, so that it keeps a good track of it. All right. So, but let's just make it 0 for now. And I'm going to go ahead and upload the changes. And I can see Dave holding on his breath right now. He's like, I don't know about this. It's taking time. There you go. And it failed. Look at that, Dave.
I know.
It failed. All right. So it says, please wait. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload the changes again. And this time it should go through. There you go. All right. So they can't say that we're, doctoring this right now, because I'm using a real controller, So, okay. So I got this hydros doser right here. Take a look at that right there. So if I click on the doser, now I have all these options. I can turn off the doser completely. I can do a manual dosing. I can add water to the reservoir, and I can calibrate the doser. Check that out. So calibration, let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit calibrate. Ensure that the pump has been properly primed. Perfect. Done. Place the output tube of this doser in a beaker capable of holding 43 milliliters of fluid. Then press continue. So let's go ahead and do that. So now the pump is actually running. And it's going to run for 1 minute, because I told it that the rate is 43 milliliters per minute. Okay. So at that point, it's going to run for 1 minute, and then it's going to stop. As soon as it stops, I go to the beaker, I take a look at that. And if it's 43, I leave it as that. If it's 42 or if it's 45 or something like that, I just go ahead and change that. And then the hydros will mathematically do the computation to keep the doser at 43 milliliters. It'll adjust the time based on 43 milliliters. So why do I do that? Because when I look at the pump, I know it's 43 milliliters, because I bought it to be 43 milliliters. And then, so I know that every pump I have, no matter what I do, it's going to give me 43 milliliters a minute. Instead of remembering that pump A is 43, pump B is the same brand, but it's actually 45. Pump C is another different, it's the same brand again, but it's kind of 42 because of the variation or whatever. So we just keep it that way so that every hydros pump is 43 milliliters, and hydros will do the math to keep them that way, which is great. So I'm going to keep that continue. And then you can go back and upload the changes. That will upload the new calibration value. Okay. And after that, you're set. So what I can do now is I can go here and I can say, okay, give me 10 milliliters, manual dose. Look at that. There's a manual dose. It counts it down, it runs it. And if you time it, it's probably going to be, 43 divided by 60 seconds, and then divide that by 10, and that should give you, or divide that by, by 10 milliliter, 43 divided by 4 and change. And that's it. Look at that. That is how you do a dosing pump, as simple as that, manual dosing pump. Now everybody's asking, it's like, okay, this is great, but how do I do scheduling? Mm-hmm. How do I schedule this to do it? Okay, let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to schedules. I'm going to create a new schedule. And let's call this one Easy Booster, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Easy Booster. All right. Type is going to be a dosing regimen. And okay, so total dose per pump. This is what you want totally be done at the end of the day. How much do you want? So Dave, I said I wanted like about 15 milliliters.
Yep.
So I'm going to do 15 right here. So I'm going to go back here because I really like this. This is so much easier. Okay, 15 milliliters and dose count. So you know what? Let's do it every 2 hours. Is that okay? Or you want every 24 hours? Let's do every 24 hours. Why not? Okay. I mean, once an hour.
Yeah.
Doser count. I can add many dosers. Obviously, I only have one dosing pump, so I go ahead and hydros doser. Doser speed, 43 milliliters. Now, hydros automatically knows that this doser is only one speed, so therefore you keep it at that. Okay. And then what we have here is active and modes. You know what? I don't want it to be dosing when it's Easy Booster doser time is too short. Okay, look at that. All right, 15 milliliters, dosing count 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this right here. Sorry about that. 15 milliliters 24 times. The reason why is because I did 15 milliliters 24 times. 15 milliliters 24 times ends up being like 0.7.
Yeah,
it's too
you
small.
Busted the algorithm.
No. Well, it happens is that the pump cannot run short enough to dose because if you grab 15 divided by 24. You're talking about 0.6 milliliters.
Yeah.
This pump cannot do 0.6 milliliters. So let's move this one to 24. Okay. Okay. Oops. There you go. And then, okay, so I have to fix this right here. Let's do this let's do 5 times. There you go. Now we're going to move this to 24. Okay. And then we're going to move this to 24. Okay, that should do it. Oh, too short. Okay, so this thing is the Easy Booster is not letting me do that. Okay, so 5. Let's leave it at that. Okay. And then 43 milliliters, number of feeding. I don't want this on water changes. I don't want this to feed. It's fine during feeding. Okay, start time. Let's do this. Let's just do midnight. Okay, so start time means start time and end time. So what it will do is it will take the 24 hours, it'll dose 24 milliliters and divide it by 4. All right. Now here's the cool thing about this: run every nth day. And I've gotten questions about this because nth means this is like a math thing, to the nth degree, meaning, to another degree.
Yep.
If you're taking I guess if you're taking some probably algebra in high school or something like that, you probably know. Most of us don't remember it, but yeah, it's to the nth degree. So 1 means every 1 day, means every day. But if I wanted to dose this every other day, I could do that. Look at that. Or I could do it every 3 days, or I could do it every 4 days. Look at that. I could do it every 19 days, or I can go back to every day, or I can select which days of the week I want. So if I unselect this, look at that. It's only going to do it on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. The week starts on Sunday here. Okay, so I'm going to do every day. All right, and then hit upload changes. That's it. So now that's the schedule. I made this pump run a total of 24 milliliters, divide the whole day by 4 because the whole day end time and start time are the same. And then I have it running every single day of the week. That's it. If I want to configure another pump, I would just add another pump right here and give me the option. Obviously, right now I don't have any other pump done, so it's not going to work. So we're just going to leave it at that. And then it's all done. I go back to the status screen, and there you go. Now I have some people in there that are like asking, "It's okay. How do I know if the pump ran?" Well, this feature right here we have logs. Look at this. 43 milliliters. That's when I ran that. That's when the calibration.
Yeah.
It keeps track of everything. Even the calibration is still using liquid, so it subtracts it from your container. So it shows in here. Now, if I go back to the status and I do a 10 milliliter manual dose, it's going to run right now, and it will show that on the log as well. So that's the beauty about it, which makes it so much better to, so you can actually double check, and it continues to run, as you can see right here. Now let's go ahead and add a BRS pump. So I'm going to go to outputs here, plus BRS 1.1, right? Let's call it that. Okay, so it's going to be, again, it's going to be a simple doser. The rate is going to be 1.1. There you go. Okay, and I'm going to leave it empty right now for our purposes. I'm going to go ahead and upload. Okay, and then go back in here, and then I go to status. Look at that right there. Now, here's the thing about it. Now, I want the BRS to do the same thing as this one right here. So I'll just go to schedules, click my dosing regimen, add a second pump, make it BRS, and then here. Now, all of a sudden, I have this feature right here. Delay between dosers in minutes. -1 equals simultaneous. 0 means sequential. Okay? So what that means, sequential means, so -1 means all the pumps start at the same time. Sequential means as soon as pump 1 is done, then go ahead and start pump 2. However long it takes for pump 1 to do it, as soon as it stops, start the other one. Or now when you get to 1, 2, 3, that is as soon as pump 1 stops, wait 1 minute and then start the next pump. Make sense?
Yeah.
So we give you more options. You can start at the same time. You can sequentially, so it starts one right after the other, or you can delay start on the other ones. I mean, we're trying to give you as many options as we can. All right, same thing. I'll go ahead and upload the changes. And it's done. All of a sudden, I added 2 completely different dosers. So technically, this one right here, this pump is going to run very short period of time. in this pump, it's going to run a little bit longer. But the beauty about it is I don't have to worry about me doing the math. Hydros does the math for you.
Yep.
Yes, Hydros does the math for you. So this is, if you like what you're seeing, you're watching CoralView Hydros workshop. We're talking about dosers. If you like what you're seeing, if you like the dosers and you want to learn more about it, you know what? You like the videos, you like the workshops, and you like the communication. It's always nice to talk to people. It's always, you know what? If you get me a beer and talk
Right.
about Reeves, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there every single day of the week.
Exactly.
So come and join us. Come and join us, and just hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, and join us here every other week. And we're gonna just sit down and here talk for an hour, 45 minutes, and talk shop, which is a lot of fun. If you have any questions about anything, any product, any fish, corals, head on over to Facebook. It's not all that bad. There's this secret group. I'm just letting you know. It's called Facebook Cares. Community Aquarius Research, Education, and Support. And it's a group of people always willing to help anything you want. Yes, it says CoralView, but if you bought it from somebody else, if you bought it from a different brand, just come over and ask. Just, chances are somebody's using it.
Yeah.
And firsthand knowledge is always the best. All right. If you like hydros and maybe the workshop is a little bit too fast, or maybe the workshops we don't go into depth into some of the topics, then head on over to forum.coralviewhydros.com, and then you can ask your questions there, and you'll be greeted by a group of people that have been working on hydros for a long time. They've been using hydros for a while, and they're always willing to help. And finally, if you have any questions but Facebook and forums are just not your cup of tea, then you're looking for that one-on-one, head on over to support.coralview.com and then submit a ticket, and you'll be pretty much helped by one of our very friendly reps.
Yep.
All right. So what do you think, Dave?
Hey, it's our first step into dosing, and like I said earlier, there's a lot more to come. And if you like this, I think you'll like what you see in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Get more advanced from here.
Exactly. So, I want to say hello to Devin. He's joining us. Rodney here is too as well. Wendy and Mark Kinnery is here, and Mark Kinnery is asking for T-shirts. And I am happy to say that we finally put the T-shirts on the website. So if you go to coralview.com and look for T-shirts, search for T-shirts, they're listed. They're listed, different sizes. Hey, we even put a chair there, which I have. I use it all the time when I sit down and drink my beer outside. It's always good. But we have the T-shirts there. Let's see where here it says somebody else asked a question. Do we have any other questions in here? Okay, are we making an interface cable for the FX SDP? No, we're not. And the reason why is because the FX SDP is 24 volts. The drive ports on the control units are only 12 volts. Yeah. So you will have to connect the FX SDP to a regular outlet with its own power supply, and then have the hydros control the outlet. But no, we won't do that, because, and I don't think anybody's asking it, but if somebody's asking about the wave engine, no, the wave engine is not built for that. It's built for flow pumps, not for dosing pumps. It's completely different, and it's not something that we're probably going to do.
The FX STP power supply uses a little wall wart, so you can plug it right into your Wi-Fi strip, and it works the same. You take over with the software just like we should.
Exactly. And Revo 13 had a great thing in here. It says it says I dilute additives if the straight dose is too small. And that's exactly. I mean, obviously Dave, you, myself, and a lot of reefers in there, when you have a larger tank, you need a lot of volume. But if you have a little 30-gallon or a 50-gallon nano tank or a 20-gallon nano tank, sometimes your volume is very small. Yep. So sometimes always ask the manufacturer. Ask the manufacturer if putting water into the solution is okay, because sometimes if you put water into the solution, if you don't put the right water, it contaminates and it might spoil the solution. So always ask the manufacturer, hey, can I do this? Can I use distilled water? Can I use RODI water? And they'll tell you if you want to dilute it. Yes. Yes. So thank you. That's a great idea. All right. Can the Wi-Fi version FXSTP interface with the Hydros? Yes, you can. The Wi-Fi version of the FXSTP has a manual mode where it actually just, when you turn it on, it runs,
Mhm.
and then you cannot change the speed through the app or through the Hydros. But like I said, you just set the speed with the dial or the app or the Camor app, and then that it's set. And then you go to the Hydros and tell it what speed you set up, and then it's it. If you change the speed on the Camor dial or the app, don't forget to go back to the Hydros app and modify the speed as well. Otherwise, it's going to continue. There's no way for the Hydros to know that you've changed the speed. So you have to tell it. Okay.
And that pump's really designed to be set at one speed that you're dialing it into, and it's left
Exactly.
alone.
Exactly. Cindy is here. Secret squirrel, top secret. Yes, exactly. That was the Coral View Hydros little dozer. Yes, exactly. So Dave, so far so good. We kept this one pretty much to about but we started a little late, so technically we're about an hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I want to say thank you to Jeff Bernadette. I want to say Cindy, Revo, Jeremy, Mike Henry, Kevin, everybody here that joined us. If I didn't mention your name, I apologize, but thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, guys.
If you like the show, if you like what you see, again, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, hit the thumbs up, and you'll be notified right away when the show starts. Also, if you have any questions about Coral View Hydros, head on over to forum.coralviewhydros.com. Great group of people there that have experience with the hydros and are always willing to help. And if that's not your cup of tea, then please head on over to support.coralviewhydros, and you'll get individual one-on-one help all the time during business hours. We all like this. I like to spend time with my family too. All right. So on behalf of David Dockin, owner of Coral View, and my co-host, I'd like to say thank you to April, our producer, for fantastic commercials as always. Jeremy for the graphics. My name is Carlos, and we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Bye.